Hi friends, welcome to this new video. Today I'm going to discuss a very famous poem by P.B. Shelley, that is To a Skylark. To a Skylark is an ode. Okay, what is an ode? An ode is a poem which is addressed to someone or something. It glorifies a person or a thing. Okay, ode is addressed to someone or something. It has an elaborate stanzaic structure. So, this particular poem, To a Skylark, is an ode. Okay, and it was written by the very famous romantic writer P.B. Shelley. And it was written in the year 1820. Okay, written in the year 1820. And so, this poem is an ode which consists of 21 stanzas. Okay, there are 21 stanzas in this poem, which is of 5 lines each. 5 lines in a stanza. Okay, and the rhyme scheme is A B A B B. A B A B B. So, before moving on to the poem, let's discuss a little bit about the writer P.B. Shelley, 1792 to 1822. He was one of the greatest writers of the Romantic period. He was one among the second generation Romantic poets. Okay, the first generation writers includes Wordsworth, Coleridge, and Southey. Then the second generation includes Shelley, Keats, and Byron. So he was one of the major English Romantic poets. Okay, and about him, he was a radical in his poetry. Okay, he was a radical in his poetry as well as in his political and social issues. And once he was also expelled from Oxford for circulating a pamphlet, okay, which is titled The Necessity of Atheism. Okay, so he was a great inspiration for later writers like Robert Browning, A.C. Swinburne, then Thomas Hardy, W.B. Yeats, etc. Okay, so some of his major works include Ode to the West Wind, then To a Skylark, then Ozymandias. Ozymandias is another work. Then The Mask of Anarchy, which is a political ballad. Then The Chenji, which is a verse drama. The Chenji is a verse drama. Then Adonai. Adonai, written in the year 1821. It's a pastoral elegy. Okay, this Adonai is a pastoral elegy written for John Keats. Then Prometheus Unbound. It is a lyrical drama. Okay, all these are his major works. And apart from this, there is one work titled Shelley's Skylark. It was written by Thomas Hardy, Shelley's Skylark. Then another comic play, Blithe Spirit. It was written by Noel Coward, and it has taken its title from the opening line of this poem, To a Skylark. Okay, to hail to the blithe spirit. So Noel Coward take the title Blithe Spirit from the opening line of To a Skylark. Okay. Then about this particular poem, To a Skylark, it was written in the year 1820, as I said earlier. It's one of the most popular odes of P.B. Shelley and also a very famous ode written in English language. Okay, I have told this earlier. It consists of 21 stanzas and each stanza consists of 5 lines. Okay, and the rhyme scheme is A B A B B. Okay, and then this poem, Shelley wrote this because of the inspiration which he got from an evening walk. Okay, he had an evening walk in Italy, the place called Livorno, in the country near Livorno, Italy, and he had taken an evening walk with his wife Mary Shelley, and there he happened to hear the song of the Skylark. Okay, Shelley, along with his wife, he had an evening walk in Italy in a place called Livorno, and there he happened to hear the song of the Skylark. Okay, and this poem was under the inspiration of that evening walk. Okay, they heard that song of that bird, Skylark. Skylark, as we all know, it is a songbird. And Shelley and his wife heard this song and they were very much inspired by this song. Okay, and so this inspired him to write this particular poem. Okay, So, moving on to the first answer. Hail to thee, blithe spirit, bird thou never wert, that from heaven or near it pourest thy full heart in profuse strains of unpremeditated art. So, first, Shelley is saying, Hail to thee. Hail to thee means here a poet is greeting the bird. Shelley greets the bird. Hail to thee. Okay, he's greeting the bird. He greets the bird and he is saying, Blithe spirit. Blithe means happy. Spirit. He is calling this bird a spirit. Okay, he is addressing this bird as a spirit. Happy spirit. Blithe spirit. Why? Why it's happy? Because it is carefree. Okay, it had all kinds of happiness. So he is connecting this bird to that spirit world, which has all kinds of happiness. Hail to thee, blithe spirit. Why he is calling this a spirit? Because he calls it a spirit, not a bird. Why? Because he had not seen the bird. Okay, Shelley had not seen the bird. He can only hear the song of the bird. He can only hear the voice of the bird. Okay, he can only hear that singing of the bird. So he calls it spirit. Hail to thee, blithe spirit, bird thou never wert. Bird thou never wert means you never were a bird. Okay. Bird thou never were. You are not a bird. You are from heaven. You are like a spirit. You are from heaven or something like that. You are not a bird. Okay. So the poet says that this bird isn't a bird at all because it has never been seen. Okay, so he is addressing this bird. Hail to thee, blithe spirit. There the poet uses the poetic device apostrophe because he calls out to something like a bird without expecting it to talk back. Okay, he didn't expect this bird to talk back. So this is called apostrophe. Okay, so he calls it a blithe spirit. Bird thou never wert. You never were a bird. You are from heaven, that from heaven or near it. You are from heaven or near heaven. Okay, you are from heaven or near it. There is something, he is associating some holiness to this bird. You are from heaven or near it. Pourest thy full heart. This bird is pouring out its heart, full heart from heaven. That means it's not just singing. Okay, it's pouring its emotions, its complete emotions. This bird is expressing its emotions. Pourest thy full heart in profuse strains of unpremeditated art. In profuse, abundant strains of unpremeditated art. That means this bird has not planned anything in advance. It is just pouring out its emotions. It's just pouring out that song. Okay, this bird sings a lot and it is not at all planned in advance. Okay, it's just come like that. Okay, next answer. Higher still and higher from the earth thou springest, like a cloud of fire, the blue deep thou wingest, and singing still dost soar, and soaring ever singest. So then, higher still and higher from the earth thou springest. So this bird is singing from, it is again connected to some heavenly being. Okay, the bird is connected to like a spirit. Okay, it is higher still and higher from the earth thou springest. You jump up from the earth just like a cloud of fire. Here he uses simile. Okay, he compares the bird to a cloud of fire. It flies highly above the earth. It is connected to something heavenly being, and this bird, it's jump up from the earth. It's just like a cloud of fire. Then the blue deep thou wingest, and singing still dost soar, and soaring ever singest. So here the blue deep, it refers to the sky. The blue deep thou wingest, and singing still dost soar, and soaring ever singest. So this bird is very happy, and it does not like to come back to the earth. Okay, that means that heavenly life inspires this bird a lot. if it come back to earth, it cannot inspire it so much. Okay. And here the speaker captures that joy and freedom of the skylark. The skylark is singing and soaring and singing. Okay. So it is compared here, it is compared to a cloud of fire, simile. Okay. Then in the golden lightning of the sunken sun, over which clouds are brightening, thou dost float and run like an unbodied joy whose race is just begun. So, in the golden lightning, here referring to sunset, that evening sky. Okay, in the golden lightning of the sunken sun, here alliteration is used. So sound is repeated. Sunken sun. In the golden lightning of the sunken sun. So that sunset is described here. Over which clouds are brightening, thou dost float and run like an unbodied joy whose race is just begun. So here again comparison, like an unbodied joy. The bird doesn't have a body, which means it doesn't have a body, which means the poet haven't seen this bird. He can only hear the voice of the bird. And like an unbodied joy, that means the skylark is so free. Okay, it's this bird is enjoying. This bird is enjoying pure freedom. It's moving without any effort. Okay, and here the speaker is actually literally describing that sunset over which clouds are very much brightening. Bright clouds. He described the clouds. Okay, and so again another comparison. The skylark is like an unbodied joy whose race is just begun. It is so free. It is enjoying. Okay, this bird is enjoying pure freedom. Then next answer. The pale purple even melts around thy flight like a star of heaven in the broad daylight. Thou art unseen, but yet I hear thy shrill delight. Then again alliteration. Pale purple. The pale purple evening melts around thy flight. That is that purple sky. It flows around the flying bird. Melts around thy flight like a star of heaven. Again simile. The speaker is describing, okay, like a star of heaven in the broad daylight, thou art unseen, but yet I hear thy shrill delight. That is this bird which is invisible. Okay, thou art unseen. This invisible bird is compared to a star, like a star of heaven in the broad daylight. Thou art unseen. You are invisible. You are just like a star, but yet I hear thy shrill delight. So this bird is invisible and it is compared to a star that is hidden by the daylight, like a star of heaven in the broad daylight. Okay, you are unseen. You are unseen just like a star, which means we know that the star is there in the daytime also. Okay, but it is invisible. At the daytime, the star is there in the sky, but it is invisible. We can't see the star. It doesn't mean that star is not there. We understand that, we know that that star is there. So just like that star, which is invisible in the sky at the daytime, in the broad daylight, thou art unseen. You are also invisible. The poet is saying that this bird, skylark, is also invisible, just like a star. Here the bird is compared to a star. Just like a star which is invisible in the daylight. The star is hidden by the daylight. Just like that bird which is invisible, you are also invisible. Okay, that means the poet can only hear that sweet voice of the skylark. The poet can only hear that sweet voice. He couldn't see that bird. So he is comparing this bird to a star in the daylight. Then, keen as are the arrows of that silver spear, whose intense lamp narrows in the white dawn clear, until we hardly see we feel that it is there. Then again, next comparison. Here, the poet is referring to the moon, silver sphere. Keen as are the arrows of that silver sphere, whose intense lamp narrows in the white dawn clear. That means the moon becomes narrow, or it becomes invisible in the daylight. Until we hardly see, we feel that it is there. Just like the star in the previous stanza, that just like that comparison. Here also we know that the moon is there at the daytime in the sky. We know that moon is there. It is invisible because of the daylight. Just like the moon is there, invisible in the sky, you are also invisible. That means here also the poet is saying that your voice can be here, but I can't see you. You are invisible to my eyes. You are just like a spirit. Then all the earth and air with thy voice is loud, as when night is bare from one lonely cloud, the moon rains out her beams and heaven is overflowed. So the beginning, all the right earth and air with thy voice is loud. The whole earth and also the air is filled with your song. Here hyperbole, exaggeration. All the earth and air is filled with your song. As when night is bare, that means when the sky, when night is bare, bare means without any stars. As when night is bare, from one lonely cloud means sky is bare, there is only one cloud. The moon rains out her beams and heaven is overflowed. So you can't see this, there is only one cloud. Okay, and this moon is hidden behind that cloud. Okay, this moon is hidden behind. The moon rains out her beams and heaven is overflowed from one lonely cloud. That means there is only one cloud and the moon is behind this cloud and you can't see the moon. But you can see the moon beams scattered and the heaven is overflowed with this beams. It floods the sky. Heaven is overflowed. Like this, the bird is also not seen. Okay, here again the poet is saying that the bird is not seen. We can only hear the voice of the bird. What thou art we know not. What is most like thee? From rainbow clouds there flow not drops so bright to see, as from thy presence showers a rain of melody. So what thou art we know not. That means who are you? What are you? We don't know who are you or what you are like. Okay, the poet is very much confused. What are you? What thou art we know not. What is most like thee? Can you tell us what is most like you? What are you? Okay. From rainbow clouds there flow not drops so bright to see, as from thy presence showers a rain of melody. So, with your song, there is nothing beautiful like your song. Your song, which you sing, it is very beautiful. It is very melodious. There is nothing more beautiful than your song. It is so melodious. Okay, the poet is saying that there is nothing else can make people happier than your song. Then, like a poet hidden in the light of thought, singing hymns unbidden, till the world is wrought to sympathy with hopes and fears, it heeded not. Then another comparison. Like a poet hidden. He compares this bird to a poet. Like a poet hidden. Hidden means a poet who is anonymous. Okay. The poet is hidden. Just like a poet who is hidden in the light of thought, singing hymns unbidden, till the world is wrought to sympathy with hopes and fears, it heeded not. So a poet who is anonymous, this poet is unknown to the world. He writes poems because he feels to write. Okay, he likes to write poems, so he writes poems, and he is unknown to the whole world. Only his poems is known to the world. This poet is hidden. just like the poet who is hidden in the light of thought, singing hymns unbidden, till the world is wrought to sympathy with hopes and fears it heeded not. So this poet continues to write, okay, until the world stops to listen to him, and and pays attention to the poems. Okay, he may be unknown to the world, but his poems his poems will be well known to the world. So just like that poet who is hidden, this bird is also hidden. This bird is unknown to all, but his song captures the attention of the people. It is so melodious that this song of the skylark catches the attraction. Okay, it attracts the people, just like a poet who is hidden. His poems may be well known to the public, but that poet is anonymous. That poet is hidden. Just like that poet who is hidden, this bird is also hidden. Its voice is only heard to the people. Then, next answer, like a high-born maiden in a palace tower, soothing her love-laden soul in secret hour, with music sweet as love, which overflows her bower. So, again, another comparison here. This bird is compared to a high-born maiden. High-born maiden means a princess, okay, or a high-born lady. The poet compares this poet to a high-born maiden, and she is living in a palace tower, like a high-born maiden in a palace tower, soothing her love-laden soul in secret hour with music sweet as love, which overflows her bower. So that means she may have some lover and she is unable to meet her lover, and she is comforting herself, soothing her love-laden soul in secret hour. So she was very much concerned that he couldn't meet her lover or something like that. And so she is very much bothered about it. And so she soothes herself. She is comforting herself by singing. Okay, she is comforting herself by singing. And that music is overflowing her bower. It doesn't stays in her room, in her bower. It flows out from her room. Just like that, the music of that skylark, it is heard everywhere. Okay, this bird is hidden. We can't see this bird. It is somewhere in the heaven. The poet describe it as somewhere in the heaven. We can see that, but we can only hear the music of that bird. Okay, just like the music of this high-born maiden overflows her bower, it flows out from her room. Just like that, the music of the skylark is also, it also fill the whole earth. Then next answer, like a glowworm golden in a dell of dew, scattering unbeholden its aerial hue among the flowers and grass which screen it from the view. So there again another comparison. The poet is comparing this bird to a glowworm, a golden glowworm in a dell of dew. This golden glowworm is hidden and scattering unbehold its aerial hue among the flowers and grass which screen it from the view. So we cannot see that glowworm because it is surrounded by flowers and grass. But sometimes we can just have a glance of this glowworm. We can understand that this glowworm is there. Okay, we cannot have a clear look on that glowworm, but we understood that this glowworm is there. Just like that, the bird is also hidden, but we understand that that bird is there. Okay. Then, like a rose embowered in its own green leaves, by warm winds deflowered till the scent it gives makes faint with too much sweet those heavy winged thieves. So, again, comparing this to a rose empowered in its own green leaves. Empowered means covered. So, like a rose which is covered in its own green leaves, but there is fragrance of this rose. Okay, we know that it has a good fragrance. Okay, like a rose which is covered in its own green leaves, by warm winds deflowered till the scent it gives makes faint with too much sweet those heavy winged thieves. Heavy winged thieves here refers to the wind. This wind tries to take away the fragrance, that scent of the rose. Okay. With that smell, we can understand that this rose is there, which even though it is covered with green leaves, even though the rose is covered with green leaves, we can understand the rose because of its fragrance. That heavy winged thieves, it tries to take away the fragrance of the rose. When wind blows, it spreads the fragrance of the flower. Okay, this wind spreads the flowers fragrance. Thus, we can understand that rose, it is there. Just like that, the bird is hidden. Even though the bird is hidden, we can understand that the bird is there with its sweet, melodious voice. Okay? Then, sound of vernal showers on the twinkling grass, rain awakened flowers, all that ever was, joyous and clear and fresh, thy music doth surpass. So, here, sound of vernal showers, here referring to the voice of rain, that summer showers, voice of rain, on the twinkling grass, that voice of the rain falling on grass, rain awakened flowers. So, with this rain, the flowers were bloomed. Okay, all that ever was joyous. So, with this rain, everything was very happy. Everything in the world was very much happy, or everything in the nature was very much happy because of this rain. Joyous and clear and fresh, thy music doth surpass. So, your music surpasses everything. Okay, your music surpasses all those beautiful images. I can't describe your beauty, or otherwise, I can't describe your melodious voice. It surpasses everything. It surpasses everything that is in the nature. So the poet is saying that he couldn't explain that melodious voice because of its that sweetness. Okay, he is very much confused how to describe that melodious voice of the skylark. Teach us, sprite or bird, what sweet thoughts are thine. I have never heard praise of love or wine that panted forth a flood of rapture so divine. So here the poet is asking the bird, teach us, sprite or bird. That means sprite means spirit. Are you a bird or are you a spirit? I don't know. Whatever you are, teach us. What sweet thoughts are thine? What are your sweet thoughts which make you sing like this? What helps you to sing like this melodiously? Teach us that thing. Teach us, sprite or bird. Then he is saying, I have never heard praise of love or wine that panted forth a flood of rapture so divine. So here the poet is saying that people sing so melodiously, or people make songs so melodiously when they are in love, or when they have used wine. That means when they are intoxicated. So, but I have never heard such praise of love or wine that panted forth a flood of rapture so divine. So people who are in love or who have used wine have not sing so melodiously, or they haven't prepare music which is so melodious. Okay, your song is much better than that. Your music is so divine than that of those who sing out of love or wine. Chorus hymeneal or triumphal chant matched with thine would be all but an empty wand, a thing wherein we feel there is some hidden want. This hymen in Greek mythology is the god of marriage. Chorus hymeneal or triumphal chant matched with thine would be all but an empty wand, a thing wherein we feel there is some hidden want. So, So, a wedding song, a marriage song, or a triumphant chant means a victory song. It cannot match your song. That means your song, Skylark's song, is very much better than a marriage song or a triumphant song. Okay? So, even the best wedding song or a victory song, it can't be matched with your song. Match with thine would be all but an empty wand. It can't be considered as a complete one, a most beautiful one. Your song is much more better than a victory chant or a marriage song. a thing wherein we feel there is some hidden want. Even in the most melodious wedding song or even a victory chant, we there is something hidden want. Want means there is something lacking in such beautiful songs. Okay, even in such beautiful songs there will be some lacking, wanting. Okay, but your song, it is much more better. It is the ultimate. The poet is saying that your song is the ultimate. Then, what objects are the fountains of thy happy strain? What fields or waves or mountains? What shapes of sky or plain? What love of thine own kind? What ignorance of pain? So many questions. What objects are the fountains of thy happy strain? That means, how can you sing so melodiously? How can you sing such beautiful songs? What is the reason? Or how can you sing like that? So, again, asking what fields or waves or mountains, what shapes of sky or plain, what love of thine on kind, what ignorance of pain. That means, what inspire you to write to sing such songs? What help you to sing such songs? Whether it is fields or waves or mountains, what shapes of sky or plain, what is it that inspire you to sing such beautiful songs? Then, is it because a love of thine own kind means, is it because of any love of thine own kind means love towards another bird, or is it because of ignorance of pain, whether you haven't experienced any pain? Is it because of that? So what is the reason behind your melodious song? Okay, how can you sing such melodiously? This is what the poet is asking. Then, next answer. With thy clear, keen joyance, languor cannot be. Shadow of annoyance never came near thee. Thou lovest, but never knew love's sad satiety. With thy clear, keen joyance, joyance, joy, happiness. Languor cannot be. Languor means sadness. So I think you haven't experienced any kind of sadness. You only have joy in your life. Shadow of annoyance never came near thee. That means I am sure that you haven't experienced any kind of annoying things in your life. It never came near thee. Thou lovest, but never knew love's sad satiety. I think you have loved, thou lovest, you have loved somebody, but never knew love's sad satiety. Satiety means the utmost limit. After something there is nothing like that, so that limit, at most limit. So you haven't experienced that love's sad satiety, I'm sure. Then next one. Waking or asleep, thou of death must deem things more true and deep than we mortals dream, or how could thy notes flow in such a crystal stream? Waking or asleep, thou of death must deem. That means you know something about that death. We human beings are always afraid of death, right? So, waking or asleep, thou of death must deem things more true and deep than we mortals dream. Uh, Human beings, sometimes they always think about the sad reality of death, but you realize the what is behind it. I think you realize the secret behind it. Human beings always worries about death, but I think you didn't have any such worries. Or how could thy notes flow in such a crystal stream? Then how can you sing in so clarity? I am sure you know the secret behind death. That means it is because that you know something about death, that you didn't have any fear for death. That is why you can sing like this. This is what the poet meant here, because he's saying that human beings is always afraid of death. But Skylark here, it sings in such a way that it doesn't have or doesn't show any kind of worry about death, about the fact of death. So he is saying that the Skylark knew something about or the about the secret of death. Then next answer. We look before and after and pine for what is not. Our sincere laughter with some pain is fraught. Our sweetest songs are those that tell of saddest thought. Very famous lines. Our sweetest songs are those that tell of saddest thought. We look before and after. We here human beings look before and after means they always think about what had happened earlier and what will happen in future. We look before and after, otherwise we think about what had happened in the earlier past, and we always think about what is going to happen in future, and pine for what is not. That means we will always long for what we didn't have with us, what we have lost or what we didn't have. That means we always longs, okay, we longs for what we didn't have with us. Our sincerest laughter with some pain is fraught. Means even though if we laugh sincerely, there is also some pain behind it. Our sincerest laughter with some pain is fraught. That means there will always be some kind of pain behind our sincere laughter also. Okay, our sweetest songs are those that tell of saddest thought. Even our sweetest songs, our songs which are so melodious to hear, are also which will be about some saddest thought, are those that tell us saddest thought. Our sweetest songs will also, there will be also some sad note behind it. Okay, maybe about some sad things or loss of love, something like that. Okay. So we human beings always think about something, think about the gone past or that what is going to happen in future. We always think about that what is not with us, what we didn't have. We always laugh. Then also in our sincere laughter there will be certain pain, and even our sweetest songs, it also will have certain kind of sad note in it, sad thought in it. Yet, if we could scorn hate and pride and fear, if we were things born not to shed a tear, I know not how the joy we ever should come near. Here the poet is saying, if we could scorn, means avoid hate and pride and fear, if we could avoid hatred, pride and fear from our life, if we were things born not to shed a tear, that means if we couldn't experience any kind of sadness, that means if we could experience only happiness in our life, if there is only happiness in our life, if we could avoid hatred, pride and fear, then also I know not how the joy we ever should come near. That means then also, if we avoid hatred, pride, and fear, or if we only have happiness in our life, then also our happiness will not match yours. That means your happiness, what you are experiencing now, it will never come near our happiness. Means it is something otherworldly. That means we couldn't experience such a happiness in our life, even though if we were things born not to shed a tear. If we could avoid hatred, pride, and fear, if we only experience happiness in life, then also we could not match your happiness. Okay, we could never match your happiness that you are experiencing. The next answer, better than all measures of delightful sound, better than all treasures that in books are found, thy skill to poet where thou's corner of the ground. Here the poet is saying what is needed much for a poet. Okay, better than all measures of delightful sound, better than all treasures that in books are found. That means better than all measures of delightful sound, all notes of delightful sound, better than all treasures that in books are found. Poet finds inspiration from many things, right? He could have find inspiration from everything that is around him. So the poet is saying better than all these things that a poet could find in nature or in books or in anything like that, it is what is very much important is thy skill, means your skill, Skylark's skill to sing. that skill is very important to a poet. Better than all measures of delightful sound, better than all treasures that in books are found, thy skill to poet. So for a poet, it is very important to have your skill. Okay, to have the skill of Skylark. Thou scorner of the ground. Scorner means one who condemns something, one who hates something. So here, thou scorner of the ground. You hate ground means you always were in a position that human beings couldn't see you. You are a scorner of the ground. That means you never touches the ground. You always were in some heavenly place. Okay, so you are the scorner of the ground. Then the last stanza. Teach me half the gladness that thy brain must know. Such harmonious madness from my lips would flow. The world should listen then as I am listening now. Then the poet is asking the bird, teach me half the gladness that thy brain must know. That means, please teach me half of your gladness. What makes you happy? Please teach me the way for that happiness. Only half of it. That is needed. And such harmonious madness from my lips would flow. The world should listen then as I am listening now. So if you teach me half the gladness that you know, then I could create magic with that. I could create such music, the world should listen then. Then the people would listen to me just as I am listening now. Just as I am listening to your song, people will listen to me. So here the poet actually requests this skylark to teach him half the gladness that this bird possesses. Then with that gladness, happiness, he could have create magic. He could create wonderful poetry so that the world will listen to him just as he is listening to the skylark's melodious voice. Okay. So this poem is completely about Skylark's melodious songs, melodious voice that the whole world to listen to. That means the Skylark's song is so perfect. The poet is saying that his song is so perfect. So it is all about perfection. So it is all about the poetic inspiration that he got from Skylark. So it is only about the perfection that people or otherwise that is needed. What is about what is like that Skylark's melodious voice? It creates a kind of harmony. That means the poet is asking that skylark to teach him half the gladness that the skylark possesses. So he is talking about that perfection. Okay, so I think this will help you all at least a little bit. Thank you all.